Welcome, students. I'm your host, Mr. Land. You're here for an introduction video to my classroom. Look at the title there. It says, Welcome to Mastery Class. That's me, Mr. Land. So let's get going here on your first video lesson of the year. It's not going to be super intense. It'll be quick, I promise. So we're going to dive in here. Follow along with me. You'll see my face there, but look on the screen. You'll see what you need to see. So before we actually do any kind of work, you're going to need that template note sheet that you see on your right there. Okay, so really important. When we learn through videos, we cannot watch our learning like we would a YouTube video or a YouTube short or TikToks. We just can't. So what does that mean? It means we really have to listen well, because there's going to be information coming out of my mouth through these stories, and you got to listen. You also have to remember that pausing and rewinding are essential. You must do these things. Why? You might miss something. You might not hear it. And if you don't, you have to rewind. You have to pause so you can see things and then be able to write those answers down. Check your notes. Mr. Land's going to leave clues to help you as you go along through your notes and see where you should be answering questions. And I kind of really keep it really in order so that kids don't get confused about what information they're trying to learn. You ready? I'm ready. You're ready. Let's go. So just starting with this idea from me, I believe that all students can learn. Now, when I'm in class and I'm working with kids, I'm doing the best I can to make sure that they are growing. Now, we in a mastery classroom are going to create time for your success. Now, to be able to do that, to create time, which is really hard, you're thinking, what? How do I create time? We're going to find ways to make time. The really important part here is that we must build relationships to find trust so that we can help one another. Kids help me and I help them. And the kids help each other. And in doing this, we get better. We learn. And that helps us create those opportunities, helps us create that time so that we can learn. Now, what is a mastery classroom? Take a look on the screen here. All right, there's a video I want you to watch. I want you to take a look. Pay close attention.
Have you ever really tried to learn something and you just couldn't? It can make you feel like you're not so smart, right? Well, it's not your fault, and it's not your teacher's fault. It's just our traditional approach to learning. We go through school and we accumulate gaps. You're a bit shaky on pre-algebra, but you move on to algebra anyway. By the time you get to calculus, you've got lots of gaps. If enough gaps build up, you eventually hit a wall. Calculus makes no sense, and that can be frustrating. But what if there were a different way to learn? That's mastery learning. Unlike traditional learning, where all students move in lockstep, with mastery learning, you go at your own pace. You progress through questions at just the right level for you. If you get 50% right the first time, it's not a big deal. Try as many times as you need. Get feedback as you learn, and help when you need it. Teachers can track your progress, identify any gaps, and give you one-on-one attention. Decades of research shows mastery learning works. Now you have the tools to make it possible. Are you ready to learn anything?
I am. Okay. So
Have you ever
here, let me kind of go forward now a little bit. All right. Now, if you look there on your sheet, there should be a question there at the top. Let me go backwards there a little bit. I'm having trouble getting that blurb up. But I want you to pause right now, and I want you to look at that question, and I want you to answer that question right now at the top, number one. Okay, you're back. So you've answered the question. See how you did that? You paused, you answered. Now we go forward. Excellent. Now, mastery learning is defined, and if you look there on the paragraph, it's an approach to learning that gives students a higher level of understanding, given enough time. Look at the highlighted portion. Between their work together and their agreement of your progress, this will allow you to move forward. So what does that mean? Well, let's say you start at the mission 1, which is going to be your lesson 1. And then you and Mr. Land work together. You get all your work done. You're checking with each other. Mr. Land's checking with you. Now you've learned lesson 1, mission 1. Now you can move to mission level 2. See how it works? It's simple. You master the content. You learn it. You work with Mr. Land. You work with your peers. you get to move on. Boom. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, how does it work if you were actually in a classroom? Now, let me fill in some arrows here for you. How does it work? Well, we always start at the top with the content. In other words, what do I have to learn? And so you start by taking that learning through a video, kind of like I'm doing right now. And then once you get that very basic learning, you start your work. What kind of work? Well, all kinds of work, journal work, paperwork, notes work, you do your video work, sometimes digital work through your Chromebook. There's group work, of course, group challenges, group projects, right? Once you really get all of that work done, you're going to move and do a pro check. You're probably wondering what that is. We'll get to that in a minute. You're going to do a pro check. And Mr. Land's going to ask you to do that in the back of the room. Turn around. Do you see the back of the room? Do you see how it's set up? It's kind of different, right? So you're going to do your pro check back there in the pro check corner. Then Mr. Land's going to check that pro check and he's going to tell you, hey, you mastered that. You got it. Excellent. A plus. Now, if you didn't, you can go back and redo that work. Mr. Land's going to let you go back and redo it. It's like the video says. If you got a 50 on it, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to practice that more because you didn't quite get it. So go back, try again. Mr. Land's not going to nail you with an F right away simply because you didn't get it the first time. You need another chance because you need some more what? Time. You need more time. Now, once you get it, boom, we're eventually going to move on to your assessment. That's your test, right? I don't use that word in class, but I call that a boss battle. We'll talk about those in a little bit. Now, once your boss battle's good, boom, we go to the next lesson. We move forward to the next lesson. And there we go. There's the mastery cycle going around every day, checking mastery, remediation, assessment, and we go again. Now, there's a few things that you need to know before we really dive into mastery learning. Now, if you look on the top right, you see the number 2 there. Mr. Land's asking you, hey, answer this question on your notes, number 2. Take a look. So I want you to look on your sheet because I'm going to ask you a question here from this page. Now, in class, I do whole class learning. In other words, all of us together. I do that from time to time, once in a while. But here's the thing. I will not be standing in the front of the room giving a lecture for 45 minutes. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. And also, you're not going to be writing notes for 45 minutes while I'm talking. That just cannot happen. You cannot learn the best in that way. But we can learn in other ways. So that's a big deal because that is something you're used to. That's not going to happen a lot here, but we are going to do whole class discussion from time to time. Yes, we are. Absolutely. Another thing to know, do you see that number 3 on the top? There's a question. So right now we would have paused, we would have answered, and then we would have moved on. So Mr. Land's probably pausing with you right now. Another thing is that it's flexible. The learning is flexible. You know what it means, flexible? It means that it can bend. So you can complete your missions at your own pace. Some of the kids love this because they say, I take a little longer, sir. I need more time. And they can have it. Some kids go a little faster and they can go faster. Now, even though the time is flexible, you must look at those deadlines. Mr. Land will give you deadlines, meaning you have to get certain work done by a certain time. And at the bottom, I'm telling you, Mr. Land will be checking your work with you. There's those relationships again. So pause and get your answer. All right, we're going to go on. Number 4. Now, another thing to know is that there's a lot of interactions between Mr. Land and the students. So you need support. You have questions. They need to be answered. And I have questions too because I want to see how you are doing, not just in life, but with your work too. And we're going to interact a lot while you're doing that work. Pause, get your answer. Moving on, number 5, collaborative group work. Collaborate means together. So we get to work together and learn from each other. So I do check on the progress of groups. You're sitting at a table. You have a color pointing up to the ceiling. You all have to work together sometimes, just like you did last week, remember? And Mr. Land checks that progress for the group a lot too. So we do a lot of group collaborative work together all the time. Keeps it fun, keeps it interesting, keeps you learning. Pause, get your answer. Moving on to number 6. What is a pro check? After we watch a video, we are going to get our notes done. So once we get our notes done, we are going to be asked to do a pro check. A pro check is just a little checkup. In other words, did you really learn some of this? Is it in your head? Did it stay there? And Mr. Land checks it. I call it a pro check because I want you to be the pro. I want you to be the learner. I want you to show me, look, sir, I'm the MVP. I got this. And that's what a pro check is for. In the back of the room, look at the back of the room. That's where the pro checks happen. So we're going to do lots of those. Moving on, pause, rewind if you must. Moving on. Number 7 is going to be the last one, the boss battles. Those are your big assessments. We're going to use the quizzes app. If you've never used it, it's really fun. And you're going to show me, look, Mr. Lamb, I got it. I mastered this growth, this content. I mastered this history work. And you're going to play the game. They call it boss battles because it's kind of a game. Now, boss battles can be redone if you don't score high. So we'll see those when we start, okay? And also there's land bucks for those boss battles when you do really well. There's some money involved there. There's some land bucks, all right? So pause if you get your answer. So last, mastery learning is all about the growth that you're going to show, and it's going to be through those relationships. I want to tell you that I believe in you, and I believe that with enough time and with enough work, we can get better. So I look forward to seeing you there in Mastery Class. All right, kids, thanks for your first video. I'll see you soon.